GM. GM. So, today, Friday, 5th of December, not December. One of these days I'll get it right. Friday, 5th of Jan, 2024. So, I'm not really feeling very bullish today. I think the reaction was really underwhelming from alts. Bitcoin still fine. You go to the lower time frames. BTC is building a nice base here as it moves higher, moved up, pushed back, broke out. I mentioned in trading analysis that I wanted to see it trap people on the false approval, shake them out. Got a deeper wick than expected. Expected to drop back into this area. That's where it found support. Nice deep wick to destroy anyone with leverage. Although the really deep wick's a sign of illiquidity. So since the big flush, it seems like liquidity has not returned. So market makers, a little red flag there, basically. A little red flag. I think that possibly people have kind of, I don't know what happened with the dip the other day, but there's definitely less liquidity in the market now. And if you have less liquidity, it just means that market makers are less willing, right, to offer liquidity at certain levels, which just makes the market weaker. Yeah. More prone to either going nowhere or going down. So I'm a bit concerned that there was such a big wick on that, especially after the shakeout we had the other day. That there shouldn't have been a whole lot of open interest built up, but you can see anyone who piled back in got flushed out. So that's all fine. Relatively healthy from that perspective. I'm just not feeling really bullish, to be honest. We'll check the global OI, global funding rate. Funding's still down. And, what I see a lot of people online talking about, really they're talking about Ethereum and this is the next big thing. And the narrative's going to shift right away. It's time for Ethereum to go. I don't know. To be honest. Don't know if we just keep going or not. Maybe it just ends with the ETF of Bitcoin. The signs I'm seeing are just a lack of interest to go higher across many of these coins, and I think it's the massive shakeout. It's all the people who got wrecked here, right? Because obviously it's good to shake out leverage, but also when you have big shakeouts, it can lead to extended periods of sideways or down. So, not bearish. It'd be silly to be bearish around here, but I do think we could see a period similar to this after the last big shakeout, right? Where open interest goes sideways / down, probably down for a little bit and then slowly starts to rise as we go through a reaccumulation process. That would take the markets sideways for quite a while. Bitcoin still has the ETF coming, but price is, it depends. I think it's being held down until the actual approval announcement, which is fine. You could see yesterday how people were trying to, if you don't If you track things as closely as I do, you'll see this, but people were trying to do fake announcements yesterday. They were real, right? It wasn't fake news, but people are now starting to write stuff on Twitter in the way that an announcement would be written, because they know that there's going to be algorithms scanning for these announcements, right? So there's a lot of people writing headlines in all caps saying like BTC ETFs are at approval stage, says Bloomberg analyst. And it's people taking the comments of other people who are close to the situation. So nothing's approved, but people are writing and, sort of screaming into the void as if it is approved. And that's how we got these few spikes last night. That's what these were. These pushes. That was when I mentioned that watch out for a shakeout, because the approval will be bullish, at least in the short term, but not the fake approval before the approval, random person's tweet. I think in the best case scenario, if this is like a bullish, fully bullish outcome, best case scenario is these idiots, they're just blowing their load over here, right? They're getting too horny, too excited, and they're longing into every fucking pump, thinking that the ETF's just free money, and so they get flushed out all the way to 42.4. So that's a really nice dip, right? That's like more than 2k. So that's almost 5% with the market we're in at the moment. Top to bottom there, 5.3%. These are volatile moves for Bitcoin. What you want to see now is volatility disappear, right? Until the approval, whenever it is, whether it's today or Monday, you want to see Bitcoin just lose volatility. That's what's actually most bullish, is a lack of volatility. That means it's actually compressing and building for a real move. If you keep seeing a lot of volatility chopping around, volatility at at a stage like this is a sign of distribution. And, just overall, some of the reactions of altcoins are really bad, like really weak. Pepe, Multibit, just had very uninspiring reactions. No point selling them at the lows here. I don't think any of that. So, yeah, eventually, I think coins like Pepe, they'll move back up, right? What you are selling, if you're selling here, you're selling into lows. So this is super common. After you have a shakeout, you have a few days where price looks like shit, and then everything just rips higher. This is really common. There's an example of Link, which I remember from previous runs. And especially when it's like, if it's later stage in the move or whatever, you're going to see these, right? You're going to see even like here on some of them, where you've had your shakeout, you have 2 or 3 days of basically shit, and then it goes higher. There's also one later in 2020, which is here. Right, shakeout, wicks down, sideways, chopping, push up, down. Like this is over a week. And then eventually the market gathers its momentum and goes up. Now, we're at different stage. Just like for Link, for example, back here, this was dumping into support after a lengthy consolidation. It's now kind of dumping off the highs. Right? So there's a potential that it's just bearish and it goes lower. But the long wicks would tell me that it is in fact going to remain bullish. However, it could grind down into there, hold this level, and then go up. I think dips are going to be muted. I think like Link's a good example here. Like this dip that came right down to this previous area, which this was a previous trading range of Link, where it spent some time consolidating. It's done it. It's really spent quite a bit of time in this area over the years, and we're still here. And I think the longer it holds in here, the more likely it is to push to the highs. And a lot of these are going to just, something like this, right? It'll move up to the highs, false breakout, back inside, and then rip. Like, Link doesn't need to go back lower. We've seen the attempt. That's the biggest leverage shakeout we've had. That was the attempt to go lower, and it rejected. Unless there's something that takes us lower, I'm not concerned about big further declines. Because if you look at like multi-bit, which it had a weak response for sure, but it's like 60% off the highs already, right? 57. That's not a time to be selling it. So the reaction wasn't great. It might go to new lows. But from there, that's probably the bottom. And then it builds up and goes higher. Remember, it doesn't have perps. It'll bleed people out by going to new lows, make them panic, make them close, all of that. I wouldn't be concerned about that either. It's not to say that like you can have a weak alt market without it also being a time to just sell everything, right? But I think this is what's going to catch people out. Like Solana can easily grind back down into this, right? Take out that low, go like that, and then just fucking rip again, and that's as low as it goes. And that from top to bottom would be like that's a 33% decline. That's one you look back on and say, oh yeah, that was the dip. But it's time that's going to get people. It's time. Everyone wants everything to rip straight away. Everyone wants stuff to just pump right now. And some stuff will. We're already seeing it. Celestia did. Say did. A lot of this stuff can just go sideways now for weeks. So from a trading perspective, it's like, do you want to hold that? Do I want to hold Solana all the way through? Well, Solana at the moment is totally fine, right? If you exclude this wick, Solana's just holding perfectly at this level. And it's holding the daily. So I have no real major concerns with Solana at the moment. I think if it starts to trade around this level too much, then it probably doesn't nuke. Everyone thinks it's going to go fucking straight to zero. But I do think it would then just be, the opportunity cost then would be holding Solana as it just sort of bleeds out and you have to wait and go sideways. But again, that depends on what your overall approach is. So I think the whole market's just holding its breath, waiting on